Hey guys, Kev here, and I have a review to do for you. This is the prototype of the Null Knives Voodoo. So I'm going to take my time with this one, enjoy it, because I always go really fast, and I do these reviews in like 10 minutes, So this one might be a little bit longer. Let me spoil it for you. I love this knife. I want this knife. I cannot wait for this knife. Is that enough for you? I think that explains it pretty well. It's fantastic. There are a couple things that I personally don't love, but such is life. There are some changes. We're going to talk about all this good stuff in this review. So, Null Knives. This is the follow-up to the debut hit album, The Raiden. Raiden was a cool knife that I actually did not get it on the pre-order on because it just wasn't for me. It was a frame lock. It was just studs, and I'm left-handed, and it just, I don't know. But this design just screams at me, right? The sheep's footy style blade, the bolster lock, very left-hand friendly, the hole / slot and studs for deployment. Just, this one is amazing for me. But anyway, the Raiden came out last year or so. He did the pre-order. I don't believe they've delivered yet. Maybe they have. Maybe they're starting to deliver now. I can't remember. But cool knife. And then he's following it up with this bad boy right here, the Voodoo. Yeah. And really cool stuff. Null Knives is a design company and boutique style brand, kind of like Vero Engineering or myself with Devo Knives, me and Colin. I would say Null Knives is on the rise. I think it's going to be a brand where it's going to just skyrocket quickly. I think these knives are going to sell out instantly. I think that's kind of going to be the thing going forward for him because if you look at his designs and everything, they're just fire. And yeah, rightfully so. He should be getting that kind of support. So let's get into it. This is the Voodoo, and aesthetically, it is sexy as fudge. There's not much more for me to say. It is absolutely gorgeous. It has this sheep's foot style blade with a little bit of a clip at the end. I absolutely love that. You got a little bit of a poon. Now, I will say I'm getting a little bit tired of the sheep's foot with poon thing. It seems like everybody's doing it. Now, I know I did it on the Stout, and I guess I didn't notice it before that. I'm not saying I started it. I'm just saying it wasn't something I'd seen a bunch of times before that. And since that, I've seen it like a gajillion times. So it's getting a little played out for me. Luckily, this is very unique in the rest of the blade that it doesn't really sit in that category for me. This beautiful sort of clip right here is amazing because it's still basically a sheep's foot blade, mostly straight edge. But you do have that little bit of poon, and then you have this beautiful slot right here. It kind of gives it like an eagle eye sort of look. Really, really nice. Aesthetics on the close is really good. I like the triangle stud. It's a very unique thumb stud. Gotta love that. His sort of, at this point, his thing is this pivot with a little bit of knurling. You can get good grip on that. If you're in a pinch grip or something, you can really hone in on that area right there. It's very nice to have that. You have a beautiful bolster lock. I believe he calls this static wash on the scales. And then you have an acid wash on the blade. We'll get into the different versions as we go through here. The clip meshes very, very well with the rest of the handle. It kind of gives me Holt haptic vibes, Holt vibes on the clip. I don't know if anybody else sees that, but it kind of gives me that vibe. I don't mean that in a he copied it way. I just mean it gives me those vibes. So shut the front door. This looks nothing like a fucking haptic. A haptic. Got my tangerine blood orange spindrift. All right, so basically it's sexy as fudge. we've got that nailed down. This is denim micarta here. I really like this, man. It looks really good. You get that choil right there, 50/50 choil. It's my kind of choil. Since we're talking about aesthetics, let's talk about specs. I do have a sheet here. Thank you for providing this sheet. Let's just, so he goes over, if you want to pause and read this, please feel free to pause and read this. He talks about how this is his follow-up. He talks about the knife. He does a really good job in here talking about it and giving his thoughts on the knife. So please pause and read if you'd like. I just don't want to take your time out with all of that. Then we talk about specs here. We have an overall length of 8.25. Again, pause and read if you like. All right. 8.25 inches overall, 3.6 inch blade length, 3.5 inch cutting edge, and then you have a blade thickness of 0.145 with a nice hollow grind. 4.65 on the handle length. You have a handle thickness of 0.54. Interesting. It does not feel that thick, but I guess it is. And then you have contouring and you have milling on those scales. We can measure that in a second. It's grade 5, 6 ALV for titanium on the handle, the hardware. The pivot is stainless steel. It is obviously one-sided. I assume it's D-shaped in there. We are on ceramic cage ball bearings. They look like, hard to say exactly, but they do look like 5 millimeters. They could be 6 millimeters. 4 ounce weight on this guy. We have the pricing and everything. All right, we'll go over that at the end along with the changes. So we put that there. Let me grab some knives to compare, and we can also look at, hold on, sorry. I got stuff falling down here. All right, we got some knives to compare, and we'll measure that thickness because that just threw me off a little bit. I think the Rask is right around that 3.6 mark, so that's why I just want to see. Right there, yeah, these are almost dead on dead nuts. Same exact size knife right there as the Rask from Grimsmo Knives. Something like the Evo here might be a similar size. This might be just a slightly bit shorter. Yep, just slightly bit shorter on the Evo. We have this VC Edge Intercept or Interface, I think is going to be right on. Wow, look at that. Yep. Intercept or Interface, I can't even remember, is slightly larger. I just have these here, so I'm just grabbing stuff. And then maybe some stuff you guys would know. The Mini Tempest. Right there. Whoops. And we'll grab the Jaeger. And again, I like to do this occasionally where, since I have 2 of them, I can do a top and bottom, and you can see them from both sides. Sometimes knives look larger or smaller because of the camera angle and everything. But there you go. That is the Jaeger M with the Voodoo. Absolutely love the Jaeger M. But everybody knows that by now. All right. So let's grab the calipers. Shut this bad boy so as we don't cut ourselves. 0.53 I'm getting. What did I say on the specs there? 0.54, yep. 0.53. Yeah, I mean, close enough. Plus, there you go, 0.54. So that does make sense, but it's because you have that contouring there. It did not feel thick in the pocket at all. So if that's a measurement that throws you off like it did me, don't worry about it, okay? It's not too thick. It's perfect in the hand, honestly. It feels like a thinner knife, and that's probably because it's contoured, so it's counting that extra material, if you know what I mean. Anyway, ergos are utterly fantastic. You can get into this back grip, so you do have a lot of swelling and stuff going on here, right? but it works. A lot of times when people do that, it just tends to be an issue. I have a large glove size hand. It melts right into here, just melts. You have a little bit of jimping here. It's not crazy, but it is enough. And I get a really good grip in this grip right here. I'm nowhere near the harpoon, which is nice, and I feel good. Now, when I climb up into this choil, just like the Raiden, this is my one of my negatives on this knife. I have 2 of them, and that's it. One of them is being addressed. When you get into this choil, my thumb lands right there. Right there. And this harpoon is a little bit sharp. It's not rounded off or chamfered off because aesthetically it gives it that sharp look, which is nice aesthetically. And this is the same thing on the Raiden, but my thumb lands right there, and if I apply pressure, it does hurt a little bit. Now on this one, I don't care. I'm not gonna go around doing all these push cuts with it. I can always back off or climb up if I want to. When I get into a pinch grip, I tend to climb right up in front of that, so it doesn't actually bother me, or I can ride into it, but honestly, I'm doing this, you know. And you can use, if you want to pinch grip it like this, you can use these awesome pivot, the knurling on the pivot to kind of hone in, find your spot, if you want to, you know, do stuff like that. So, but it is one thing, is this is a little sharp. So he did choose, I would say he chose aesthetics over ergonomics on that one thing. And it was the same argument I had with the Raiden, except on the Raiden, it was also on the handle, and that really got me. But on this, you don't have that. It's absolutely comfortable in pretty much every grip. If you want to go into a reverse grip, it does work. This angle is a little bit different, so you got to wrap your thumb. You're kind of going to want to do this. You could climb into that choil and hold it like this if you're going to go into a Friday night gas station fight. You got little movements like this. You could do your thing, fight your Slurpee off. But I always recommend you set your Slurpee down. You know what I mean? Just calm down, everybody. I need to put my Slurpee down before we fight, please. And then get into your grip. You know what I mean? So you should have time. All right, I'm just kidding. Ergos are fantastic. Just that one little thing where my hand just tends to land right here. But luckily, I don't do a ton of hard use, so it doesn't matter for me. All right, carry. The carry is good. I carry this in my back left pocket. I had no issues with it. Now, this clip does move around a little bit, but it's a prototype, and it's being addressed. One of the changes, and you'll see that, is this is going to seat deeper down. So nothing to worry about there. It does mount from the inside. He did crank that down as tight as he could, and it's just because it's not seated deep enough that will be taken care of. Other than that, I mean, 4 ounces, it feels perfectly fine. I mean, it feels like pretty much any other bolster lock knife this size. You know what I mean? It's just kind of how it is. Like our knife, the Devo Stout, is I think 3.8 ounces. That is a 3.3 inch blade. So maybe that 0.2 is the reason why it's 2 ounces lighter. Whatever, or 0.2 ounces lighter. So I don't think it feels heavy in any way. I think it carries great. I didn't have any issues. I did notice the stud caught on my pants a little bit on the way out, but it never, I tested it too. I tried to kind of pull it against the side on an angle. I never got it to catch enough to kind of like pop out and deploy the knife, because you guys know I hate that. But it did catch enough to kind of just notice it and kind of pull off. It would kind of just, swipe the pants or whatever, which is fine, whatever, But I did want to mention that. Cutting. So I did cut some shipping labels with this. I cut into a couple packages, and that's pretty much all I did. So I didn't go crazy. I have not had this very long, and I want to get it moving. So it just kind of is what it is. But it's Riot made, if I haven't mentioned that. So I trust the grind. This is a nice hollow grind. This is going to come down somewhere around 15 thousandths behind the edge. Can almost guarantee that. Comes out to a really nice tip. Now, it's going to be a little bit dainty, so you could, break that tip off if you're not careful, or roll the edge or whatever. But that's kind of what you are signing up for when you buy a knife like this, or the Jaeger, or whatever. Something with a thinner measurement behind the edge, right? It's just kind of how it goes. But feels fantastic. It did penetrate really well into the paper, into packaging. It sliced really well. I had good control. I will say the blade is long, 3.6 inches, and when I climb up in the pinch grip like this, I do have good control, but I did lose it a little bit when I was doing those utility cuts, just because there's that extra length of blade out there. I'm not right on top of the tip and controlling it, you know what I mean? I don't think it's a big deal, but just something to mention. If you have larger hands, I think that would be less of an issue. If you have smaller hands, it might be more of an issue, right? It's not going to be the best for something like chopping or whatever, because in this grip or whatever, I guess you could get into this grip, and it's just my fingers are hitting the table before the edge would ever hit the table. So this is, it's a utility cutting knife. You want to use that tip. It's going to open packages really well. It's probably going to destroy cardboard, stuff like that. So I think it's going to cut absolutely wonderful. This is in M390 steel, so it's in your stock steel of the day. I love that font right there, M390. Riot does it well, so I don't think it's anything to worry about, right? So that's cutting. Sounds. I think they're good. I think with the micarta, it's going to dampen it a little bit. So you're probably looking at, for me, this is kind of a 6 or 7 out of 10, maybe closer to 6. I think the fat carbon one would be better because, the thing is you don't have any internal milling, right? But the carbon fiber is going to add some reverberation. But the way you get, and I've talked about this before, the way you get these really good sounds is you have internal milling of some sort, right? And that really helps, but you can hear it on this. Sounds good because there's that internal milling, the hollow grind, but because it has those scales on top, it dampens it a little bit. If you listen to this one, internal milling, and then it has milled handles, no inlays, it has a little extra oomph to it. It's hard to tell, I guess, from where you're sitting. But like, here's a carbon fiber inset lock. Really good pops on that. And there's no milling in there. But again, that's an inset liner lock. So it's a little bit different. But a bolster lock just isn't going to give you that crazy sound. This is probably a bad example just because it has that Brian Nadeau system. But it just doesn't give you huge clacks and stuff like that. So, but I think it's good, and I think the fat carbon one's going to sound fantastic. So anyway, very good. Action / fidget factor, guys. This thing is off the Heezy. Yeah, the D10 is dialed perfectly. So thumb, man, that thumb just pops. You have these beautiful custom thumb studs he designed. I mean, look at that beautiful triangle. It's got the milling all around. I mean, it's just absolutely perfect the way that is. I wish there wasn't a screw, but hey, what are you going to do? But thing I love about this knife is, and I've said this before, you're going to see a lot more of this slot with stud thing, because if you get it right and place them right, the stud is perfect for the thumb flick. I mean, it just literally, it couldn't be better, right? Where I think if you just had the fuller, it would work, but it would be a little bit more awkward, right? It wouldn't be as satisfying as that is. But then when you go to do a reverse flick, you catch just the fuller, and that's perfect. If you want to hit the stud, you can, no problem. Would you hear that? So you can do it off the stud and do more of a vertical shoot. But if you want to do a normal reverse flick where you kind of shoot outwards, you can do that, no problem. Because it's a bolster lock, left-handed, nowhere near the lock bar. Oh, that was me. Nowhere near the lock bar. It fires out. Thumb stud's great. Right-handed thumb stud, you don't have to worry about the lock bar being this huge issue like you do with thumb stud knives. So it just works really well for thumbs on the studs and then for flicks on the slot. I mean, it's just amazing, guys. It really is. Then you have a little bit of an Easter egg here. You have some good jimping. Now, I can do it sometimes. Boom. You can get a little bit of a front flip going like that. It's not the best. Like, it's not the most repeatable just because it starts tearing at my skin and then I lose it. There you go. But I think some of you will probably be hammering that all day. You know, not for me. He could have brought it up a little bit and made it a front flipper, but I think it's more of an Easter egg for him, and I think he wanted to make sure the detent was dialed for the deployments he did have, which it is, guys. This detent is chef's kiss. Definitely could have gone lighter, and I'm glad they didn't. That's kind of the thing here is a lot of times they go lighter because they can get away with it, but don't. Just let it have a little snap to it, and this does. It's freaking fantastic. And I handled multiple prototypes at Blade Show, and they all felt the same. It's Riot. Hopefully they can nail these. The run I think is going to be 500 or so. So I think a smaller run size like that, Riot might do really well with that. So in terms of repeating that detent. On the close, my only other complaint other than the little poke right here is the detent ramp. It starts here and it goes all the way to there. So you're already halfway close. You're at 90 degrees before you're past that ramp. So right there, you're still on it and it still wants to ride up. Now, we're going to get into the changes, and one of them is shortening the detent ramp. My argument would be you don't need a detent ramp at all. It would break right here. So imagine that it just breaks right here. I don't know who isn't going to be pushing that lock borer past that point. Like, you're going to get past that. You'd be past it right there. You would have been past it already. And then you would just shake down. Now, I can do it by forcing it down, right? It's not like you can't do it. It's on the ramp right now. So I can make it go down, but I just think you don't even need the ramp. But I think some people think detent ramps make things premium or feel better. I don't know. So they do it. And a lot of people like it and love it, and I get it. Maybe it's something he loves. That's fine. I'm just giving my 2 cents is I would just get rid of it altogether, have it break right here, clean break, boom, past it, and you'd be good to go. But anyway, it's going to be shortened dramatically, so I think it's going to work much better. It already works, but it has got me a couple times. So especially when you're left-handed, you try to get past that detent as early as you can. Like right there, I should be past it. I'm not. That kind of thing. So anyway, gonna be addressed. No big deal. But anyway, once it gets past it, very smooth on the close. It's not a guillotine, but I don't think it needs to be. I mean, it swings to your nail. And then smooth. It's very smooth. I mean, there's nothing in here. No grit or anything. And it drops really well. If I got this knife from factory like this, I probably would maybe throw skiffs in just to see what would happen. But I wouldn't be upset. Like, I wouldn't be like, man, mine doesn't have this drop shut, whatever. Like, because I know it has a good detent. And that's probably why it's not dropping shut all the way. And I love it. It's perfectly fine. So, love the action. I would give it a 9 out of 10 on action once that detent ramp is adjusted. As of right now, it's more like a 6 or 7 just because that ramp bugs me a little bit. So, utterly fantastic knife, guys. This is going to be an absolute home run. I mean, he killed it again. Take my money, like, blah, blah, blah. You guys know where I'm going with this. This is a no-brainer for you to buy. You don't even have to message me and be like, Kev, but seriously, what do you think? Like, people do that all the time to me. And I always wonder, like, do you guys think I lie to you or something? Like, if I say it in the video, I mean it. Like, you don't have to be like, yo, so what do you really think about that Null Knives Voodoo? No, I can love the knife, okay? Like, that's how I feel, okay? Now, I might, some knives I might change my mind over months. Like, that happens, right? Or I have to convince myself of things to sell stuff. But, like, when I do the review, what I say is what I mean in the moment, right? So hopefully you guys know to trust that. Anyway, let's talk about the changes and the pricing and everything. So we got this sheet here. Let's do the changes, then we'll talk pricing, all right? So here are the changes. The clip, this is the original clip. It's going to be seated down deeper. You see that? So the depth of the pocket cutout where the clip sits will be increased for greater stabilization. Clip dimensions remain the same. Then you have the detent ramp will be shortened, so you can see how long that ramp is right now, and that's what I'm saying I don't like. Like, it starts right there, and you ride that ramp all the way to there. Right? So now it's going to be shortened. I mean, it's more than half as short, so it should start and be done like right here, and then you should be able to shake down. Again, my argument is get rid of it. It would literally break right here, and you'd be good to go. But hey, I could be wrong about that. I'm not a CAD or engineer or anything. So there's a look at that. There's going to be a chamfer on the base of the clip. So he's saying this feels too sharp. I honestly, yeah, I mean, sure, but it never crossed my mind once. But hey, I wouldn't mind it being chamfered, so that's cool. And then the logo is going to be reduced by 25%. So you have this logo right here, and that's going to be reduced by 25%. So for billboarding, you have that, and you have the little M390 right here, and that's it. Fantastic. All right, pricing. So this is interesting. I believe the Raiden was a pretty good value. I think I remember being around like 260 or something. That's changing here, guys. Now, there's going to be a couple reasons for that. You have more stuff going on. You have a lot of milling here. You have the inlay. You have the custom studs. You have that deep hollow grind. I think the Raiden was flat. You have all these finishes, the knurling on the handle, like, you know, the cutout backspacer. I didn't mention that, by the way. Look at that. To literally show you the centering, that's ballsy. The only time I would ever do that is if it was with Riot, and it is, so you're good to go. But anyway, there's more costs going into this one. I would venture to guess a lot more. So that, plus he's now established, he can make a little bit of money. The Raiden, I'm sure he didn't make a ton of money off of that one. So totally understand these prices. I just wanted to mention that. And I think if you look through the market at a knife like this, you look at a knife like this, you know, you look at a knife like this, the pricing, I think, does add up. It makes sense. You look at a knife like this, the gripper, right? This was, I think, 320 or 350 now once they drop. The nimbles are around 300 to 350 now. So honestly, I mean, this was 425, but he's getting to that level like Sharp by Design. Sharp by Design is just on his own planet with the detail and all of the stuff that goes into it. So I understand the pricing on these being like 425. But he's getting to that level of just uniqueness and stuff like that. Having custom thumb studs made like this is not cheap, right? But it's basically the price of the Jaegers, which I think is accurate with Riot, right? So you're going to have a version with natural micarta, and then it's going to have this static washed, blast and tumbled, static wash scale, and then you're going to have clip and spacer, same as this, and then you're going to have a satin pivot and hardware. So it's going to be the same as this, right? Stonewash blade. So wait, let's see what this one says. Acid wash. Okay. So you're going to have a stonewash blade with my natural micarta scales, and that'll be, everything else will be the same, if that makes sense. So imagine this stonewash with natural micarta. Then you're going to have this blue micarta. I thought it was denim, but I think it's denim blue. And that's with the acid wash blade. You can see the version. Those are both, the natural micarta is $345. This is going to be $355. Then you have a black micarta with black PVD handle, stone-washed blade, and you're going to have black PVD everything else. So again, imagine a stone-washed blade and then everything else sort of blacked out. I think that's, would have been cool if it was black washed though, the blade. But hey, what are you going to do? $355. And then the one I would get is the fat carbon. So you're going to have black camo fat carbon. That's going to be this. Where's my Maverick? That's going to be this right here. So imagine this material. Oh yeah, baby. Look at that. That's going to be fire. Imagine that material. Oh man, it's going to be nice. So black camo carbon. You're going to have a glass blasted handle and a hand rubbed blade. Wow, okay, hand rubbed blade. And you're going to have a glass blasted clip and backspacer, and then black PVD pivot and hardware. Interesting. And that's going to be $395. So a little bit more. I'm a little bit sad that there's not a belt satin version. I would have loved to have seen a belt satin maybe on this Natural Micarta one. But hey, he's probably doing that to limit the number of the minimum, right? Because he's gonna get hit with the minimum there. So anyway, that's your pricing from $345 up to $395. I think that's 100% fair. I think the pricing's good, and I'm gonna pay it. I'm gonna get that hand rubbed one if I can. And I just prefer the fat carbons over my Micartas at this point. I've tried getting my Micartas plenty of times, and I always just sell them because I prefer carbon fibers. Just who I am, you know. But that's the Null Knives Voodoo. One other cool Easter egg I wanted to show you guys real quick is this. I don't know if you can see it in there, but check out what that says. Can you read that? It says Sub-Zero Prototype 2. So this was actually, because the first model was called the Raiden, so he was naming these after Mortal Kombat characters. And maybe Voodoo is a Mortal Kombat character. I don't know. But this was going to be Sub-Zero, and I don't know. I really like that name. But I love the Voodoo. I mean, it is now synonymous with this knife. But that's a cool little Easter egg there that this was actually... he had it as the Sub-Zero before when he put it in prototypes. And I guess somebody changed his mind, or he changed his mind, or whatever. But... I think that's really cool. So anyway, that's a look at it, guys. Let me know if you have any questions. I don't know if this will be the package it comes in, but if it is, cool as hell. You got a little pouch. You got some stuff right here. You got a zipper right here. Really, really cool stuff. You can put your patches right here. Get your Dead Nuts patch. So really good stuff. I really appreciate him sending this my way. Thank you, dude. I'm going to get this on to the next person, and you guys should be seeing plenty of this knife on the YouTubes as you go forward. I love you guys dearly. I hope you pre-order one of these because I for sure will. I'm going to be recording this probably well before you see it because I think I'm going to wait until closer to the pre-order to drop this, but I'm in love with this knife. It's a very, very highly, if not the most highly anticipated knife of the year for me. So that's it, guys. I love you. I love this knife. I hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic day. And I will catch you later.